Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates and some Star Wars Battlefront 2 news. Because first of all, a patch dropped today to balance out Anakin Skywalker in Battlefront 2 and a couple of other bug fixes that I will get to in a second. And we also got the May community calendar for Battlefront 2, and lastly, the EA hosted their earnings call yesterday where they had some brief mentions for Battlefront 2 as well as Fallen Order. So if we start off with the EA's earnings call yesterday, like most of the time when they host their earnings call, most of the talk is about their sports games, or in this case as well a lot of talk about Apex, since that has been very successful, and just a couple of brief mentions about Battlefront 2. But something that I found interesting is that even in the intro headline they mentioned Battlefront 2 and saying that they will be continuing supporting Battlefront 2 through its live service, something that they in previous earnings calls haven't even mentioned. But the only time Battlefront 2 has been brought up is when someone has asked them about that during the earnings call, which shows that they are a bit more confident in the game now. And they did also again acknowledge that they had some issues at launch, obviously, with the progression, monetization and so on, but he also said that with the ongoing commitment that the studio has had with the player community, it's now a really strong game with a really strong player sentiment, and we expect that it will continue to do well. We should have done that at launch, but we are a learning organization and we've continued to support that community. So both with this and the intro mention, it does sound like Battlefront 2 has a very bright future, and the fact that they are talking about Battlefront 2's live service and the future of it in this earnings call but not in the previous one shows that maybe it shows that the game has a brighter future now than it had 3 months ago. And based on obviously Dennis' comments about the play base being really high, it shows that this game has a lot of potential still, and I'm curious what the future holds for Star Wars Battlefront 2. As for Jedi Fallen Order, they did say that they are forecasting to ship around 6 to 8 million units of that game, which is less than Battlefront 2, but it is a single player only game, so that's probably taken into consideration. And I'd also imagine that the actual development team is smaller on a game of that scale, and therefore they don't expect to sell as many units. But I really hope that this game will nail what everyone wants for a single player game, and therefore of course also sell well, so that we can get more Star Wars games. Because if this game flops either in terms of sales or just being a bad game overall, I don't have a lot of hope for future Star Wars games, but I do have a feeling based on everything they've shown and said so far that this game could be something really good. And I'm really excited for EA Play when we will get to see more of it. But now moving back to the patch that came out earlier this morning, you're actually seeing gameplay in the background now from a nerfed Anakin. And yes, I know it's not the best representative of just showing one heroes versus villains round, especially since the biggest issues has most of the time been in Galactic Assault or Capital Supremacy. But, and yeah, we also had a pretty good enemy team that wrecked us, so don't expect the best gameplay here, but I just wanted some post-patch gameplay nevertheless. So if we get into the actual release notes, this is what they've done to Anakin. First of all, they have increased the cooldown of Heroic Might from 14 to 18 seconds. And then as for Retribution, they have reduced the friendly damage charge up speed of Retribution from 2% per 100 damage to 1.33% per 100 damage. So it's a quite significant reduction of how fast Retribution charges up, which means that it will not be spammed as much as it currently is. And then for the health increase stats, the Tenacious Star card, instead of going from 50 to 200, is now from 25 to 100, so he will no longer be at 1000 health. They've also reduced his base lightsaber damage from 140 to 130, and reduced the Massive Strikes Star card bonus damage from 10 to 25 to 5 to 20. So basically every level has been reduced by 5 damage. And they've delayed the effect of Retribution by 5 frames, which means that you might now have a chance to block it if you are playing a lightsaber wielder. And that's something I did notice a little bit when playing the Heroes vs Villains round in the background, that a couple of times when I did use Retribution, I did not manage to catch any of the lightsaber wielders, probably because they were fast at blocking. And they've also fixed an issue where damage from sources other than the enemy players caused Anakin's Retribution ability to charge up. And Anakin's Retribution ability now has a maximum value increase per damage event. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but maybe that means that if someone deals a lot of damage, it won't charge up a high percentage of the retribution ability. I'm not entirely sure. But that's the end of all the Anakin changes, so as you can see, it's quite significant, touching upon both his health, heroic might, lightsaber damage, retribution, almost all his abilities. So I'm curious to see how he's gonna feel now. He did not feel OP at all in this Heroes vs Villains round, but I still think he's gonna be useful in Galactic Assault and Capital Supremacy, but hopefully not as annoying anymore. But we'll see in a couple of days when the community has had a chance to use him more. And a couple of other fixes. They fixed an issue where Count Dooku's exposed weakness had no cooldown period when activated while dashing. And they've also fixed an issue that prevented Maul from blocking when under Obi-Wan's restrictive mind ability. And lastly, there was an issue where Bosk could actually one-shot other heroes if you zoomed out right before Bosk's weapon was fully charged. That has now been fixed as well. So that's the end of this patch that came out earlier today, so it's now live on all platforms, so if you play the game today, you will be experiencing all of the changes that I brought up in this video. But that's not the end of it. Lastly, we've got the community calendar for May for Battlefront 2. First of all, of course, the May 4th event that happened between May 1st to May 6th, where we were able to unlock Leia's A New Hope appearance. They have actually also confirmed that there will be more opportunities to get this skin. Ben said, just a heads up, but we are looking to give another chance at acquiring the Princess Leia appearance. We will have exact times and dates shortly. You won't have to complete the challenge again. So I think this has to do with the fact that there has been quite a lot of issues with Xbox servers and EA servers overall the last couple of days, which means that some people weren't able to log on and claim the skin. And if you missed it because of that issue, it makes a lot of sense that they would give you another chance. And I will, as always, of course, update you guys once we know when you can claim the prize, if any of you missed it out. Moving on, as for this weekend coming now, between the 10th to 12th, there will be a 1-second spawn timer enabled in both Blast and Strike. But the weekend after that is what I'm excited for. Foot Soldiers, 17th to 19th, there will be no ground or aerial vehicles in Galactic Assault or Capital Supremacy. In particular, Galactic Assault I'm very excited for, because in Capital Supremacy there's only ground vehicles and there's no ATSTs and similarly, which means that it's not that annoying. But Galactic Assault, without ATSTs, without strafe running, I am very excited for that, so I'm gonna be playing Galactic Assault that entire weekend, that's for sure. And then we get to the actual May update, which drops on May 22nd, where they will be rolling out the changes to Heroes vs Villains without the target system, and they will be adding a new map to Capital Supremacy, most likely Naboo or Camino, but we still don't know for sure, and further details in the release notes. And lastly, for the weekend between the 24th and the 26th, there is a Heroes and Starfighters XP weekend, where you will be getting double XP in Heroes vs Villains and Hero Showdown, and triple XP in Hero Starfighters and Starfighter Assault. So I might give the Hero Starfighters a go and see if I can level up some of my ships now that I've pretty much maxed out all of the ground heroes. But that's all the main news I've got for you now. I'm not sure what we can expect in between today to the 22nd, except for, of course, a community transmission detailing the May update. Other than that, I doubt there's gonna be a lot of news. There hasn't been any community transmissions promised, no streams or similarly, so I think it's mostly a waiting game. If we're lucky, they might update the roadmap with something more for June. We're not sure about that yet, or maybe confirm if Battlefront 2 will be at EA Play or not, as I'd love to see that. I'm going to EA Play mostly for Fallen Order, of course, but it would be a very nice surprise, and probably the first time that would happen if we had 2 Star Wars games at one convention, or at least if you exclude mobile games and similarly. If we could get regular news on Fallen Order and Battlefront 2 at these kind of events, that would make me very happy. I mean, just let's see last EA Play and how well Dennis' presentation went down around Battlefront 2. So I know they don't want to take away attention from Fallen Order, but that's still like half a year out, so why not push some of the Battlefront stuff in the near future instead, as that's something people can play while they wait for Fallen Order. But yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.